Welcome to the Freedom Chronicles.
Definitely an antisocial type.
Only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger.
Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
We got a loudspeaker here, and when we go into battle, we play music very loud.
With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Freedom Chronicles. I'm your host, Mike Imbasciani. Thank you for joining us in another episode. We are, of course, broadcasting from the Brian Chapman State Farm bunker right here in Southwest Florida. And just like Arnold said,
a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Yes, and so Brian Chapman State Farm is there for all of the insurance needs that you have for your very own bunker. You can give his office a call at 941-625-9998 or visit the office at 2040 Tamiami Trail in Port Charlotte. Now, Mr. Lovejoy is joining us via his corner office there at his radio studio. And in the chair next to me is a very interesting man. We're going to have a lot to talk about. Of course, we have the news of the cargo ship hitting the bridge in Baltimore. We have the DJT stock has hit the market and a bunch of other stuff going on. But this man sitting next to me, Mr. David Grossman, thank you for coming on the show.
And thank you very much for the invitation.
Appreciate it. Now, David has a history in law enforcement, working with the government somewhere in the bowels of the government system, and helping fight against human trafficking. And Ken, how are you, sir, over there in the corner office?
Oh, fine.
Very good.
We've had Mr. Grossman on the show before just a couple of weeks ago on my show.
Yes. It was very good. So, David, kind of give us a little bit of background, what you can, and you're a man who deals in facts.
Well, essentially, yes. I've worked for the government, generally in law enforcement and intelligence most of my career. I was able to obtain my law degree from courtesy of the government and parlay that into a multi-state law firm that we were able to cover various areas of both the entertainment world, represented some members of the New York Jets, the New York Mets, and through this, it allowed us to concentrate on those individuals that needed the help, which were abused women and the elderly. They weren't able to afford, generally, because of their situations, our type of law. We did a lot of litigation at high ends, but we were able to go in and represent them pro bono. That was a very satisfying part of that. I ended up teaching law. I was a law school professor. I taught at the State University of New York for constitutional law and management theories. I was a national expert in forensic examination, where I taught other lawyers, was at the National Criminal Defense College in Macon, Georgia. I went around the country speaking on this, but ultimately my forte was finding bad people doing bad things.
Right.
And the human trafficking problem became an awareness when individuals, it developed from a minor commodity of the back streets to something that the international terrorist organizations or criminal organizations capitalized on. And what we find now, it is the number two, quickly approaching the number one world commodity industry. Used to be weapons, which was the number one business of the world, and then drugs. Those are two things everyone uses all the time. We have wars, we have drug use, but we now find that the child sex trafficking is such a important moneymaker for the international organizations that it has overtaken drugs as the number two, and now it will overtake weapons as the number one world business.
Right. Well, and I remember you talked about when you were on the radio with me and Ken, basically drugs is a profitable thing, but drugs are one and done. You know, they have to make them there. I'm sure it's high cost to make all of that wherever they're doing it, and then smuggle it across the open border along with the other illegal aliens coming across the border. But with the sex trafficking, it's, you know, a person can be sold many, many times on the way to get into the country, let alone once they're in the country.
And more when you look at, because it's strictly a business for the international criminal organizations. And what they're looking at now is young girls between the ages of 7 and 12 can be used up to 40 times a day.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And that now takes its toll. Now, the average lifespan of any criminal traffic victim is only 7 years.
Yeah.
So you take a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, you don't expect them to last past the age of 15.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And that's just horrendous. It is increasing. The number one purchaser of child sex trafficking is the United States.
Yeah. And the number one seller is South America, right?
They are one of the providers. They are looking for victims all over. The South American pool of potential victims is large, but there's also the Eastern European, there is the Asian market. These are depending on who the potential buyer is looking for. Now, we know from studies that we've looked at this, that 40% of the child trafficking victims come from the African American or Black community.
Yeah.
Okay. That is a huge, huge demographic that has to be addressed. And one doesn't think of it. When you look at this, you say, well, who is your normal sex trafficking victim? We don't look at that. We say, well, where is it? Where do we find them? You only have to go up and down Route 41 here.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing. People love to say, it's not happening in my neighborhood, but
Yes,
you've talked Florida. Yeah, yes, it is. And you've talked about Florida where does that rank?
Florida, the Lee County Collier area is the second or third in the state. And the Tampa, St. Petersburg to Naples area is number 2 or 3 and number 3rd in the country. In sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then you have the West Palm Beach to Key West corridor. That is, I think, the 3rd in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So they are very high. So you have areas within the state of Florida that really are in the top 3
in the country.
2 of the top 3 in the country.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you put the 2 together, that really comprises more than what they're doing in the number 1. So you have
where
to
is
ask,
number 1?
The number 1, I think, is going to be Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. And are you finding, the southwest side of Florida from Tampa to Naples, and then the east side of Florida with West Palm Beach and all that, you think it's because that's where the ports are, it's easier in and out, or we're a peninsula, so the water's right there, people can get in and out, or how is that happening?
Actually, if you're going to take children someplace, you take them where they're most inconspicuous. Where's the number 1 place a child in Florida would be inconspicuous?
Disneyland.
Yeah.
Guess what the number 1 place for child sex trafficking in Florida is?
Yeah, Orlando.
Yep. So now, number 2 and number 3. What do we have in number 2 and number 3? Where do spring breakers go?
Yeah, the beach.
The beach.
Yeah.
What of our beaches?
Well, they don't go to Miami anymore.
No,
That's
they're
true.
getting in trouble in Miami.
But we have a whole bunch of people. Naples, Florida is the number 1 destination in the United States for snowbirds. Venice, Florida is number 6 for snowbirds. We have 2 airports covering those areas. We have Southwest Regional and we have Punta Gorda. You have Tampa, but Tampa is 80 miles, I think, from Venice is what I figured last. So where are you going to fly the people into? You're going to fly them into the airports closest to where the most people are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to hide children, where are you going to hide them? And on other population that are down there for legitimate purposes.
Yeah.
And so where are they entering through? They're entering through an airport. The number 1 airport that services the West Coast is Southwest Regional Airport in Fort Myers.
Right. So it's easy in and out.
Easy in and out, easy covering.
It's very easy to get black-pilled on these type of situations and think there's no hope. But I know you're fighting to, do about most you can.
There's so much hope. If the government would only do what it has been funded to actually do, as Mr. Grossman pointed out when he was on our show with the Curmudgeons, how much was that? $9 billion?
Well, it's a $150 billion business. In the particular, DHS has been afforded $90 million just to operate their Center for Combating Human Trafficking. But that's just as a drop in the bucket because they also draw funds from Health and Human Services, Department of Justice, the military, and about 7 other federal agencies that contribute money to these different programs that is overseen by DHS. So it's a vast money-making process for that particular area of the government. Now, they are specifically funded by law to do certain things to combat human trafficking at the one choke point that they have identified for human trafficking victims that they must pass through.
Right. Yeah, at the airport.
The airport.
Yeah.
They know airports, airlines are the number one mode of transportation for human trafficking victims.
And what are they doing? They're handing all these illegal aliens plane tickets to get on the plane to go all across the country. And what I said on the radio the other day too was, what was the biggest thing? Human trafficking spiked way up during COVID as well, because you have all these little kids walking around an airport with a mask on their face. Nobody can identify them. The whatever closed circuit TV cameras they have watching the people, as grainy as it is, you're definitely not going to see their face with a mask on. And any human trafficker can move kids in and out of there and not have to worry about it.
Well, it gets worse than that. Now, there are hardened airports in Florida. These are airports that the government has used biometric technology to determine individuals, and we can actually see and look at their faces through the mask.
Oh, really?
So we can do that. So the mask really is not the impediment.
Good.
Yeah. So it is a technology that is utilized to ensure that the right people are passing through and the wrong people aren't. Now, but that's only limited to a certain few airports so far. Ultimately, it'll be probably in every airport. There's some resistance, and we know there's some resistance in the use of the computerized authenticated technology, where we're doing credential authentication by facial recognition. There are some constitutional questions, but I think there's sufficient safeguards so that individuals don't have to worry that their images are they're definitely not being stored. They're being destroyed right after they're utilized and compared. But then you have your image is on your driver's license.
Yeah.
So the government already has it.
Oh, yeah.
It's on you every time.
Person of interest, anybody?
There's all sorts of things. So we utilize things. The problem is that you have to have people at this choke point where they are trained to identify victims and traffickers.
Yeah.
If you stop it there, the number one point where you can stop it, that's going to have the most effect. And that's what you really want. You want to target them where you're most effective, so you get the most bang for your buck.
Right.
You have a limited number of agents. You want to put them where they do the most good. And there are ways to do that.
Yeah.
It's on the books. It's a statute.
Everything's on the books. You just have to have the right people in charge to.
Well, yeah, as he told us before, the program is there. The money was allocated for it, but they never did it, and that money went somewhere else, and nobody's asking any questions. And it seems like it's a deliberate lack of enforcement is what is exacerbating this problem, and keeps everybody talking about it, but nobody doing anything.
Well, it does go to a good purpose. Now, the Department of Homeland Security under the Blue Campaign is actively enforcing the child trafficking experience, where we're trying to get the child traffickers and assist the victims. We have the Homeland Security investigations. They do a lot of this work. They're underfunded, understaffed. They need more. But about 3 years ago, when the law came out directing another federal agency who does airport security to implement the point of contact at the checkpoints to stop the traffickers from through, identify them, the victims and the traffickers, that has never been implemented. And the money that was supposed to go there for that training went to something called the Blue Lightning Campaign, which is a publicity campaign by the Department of Homeland Security. They put up very nice posters on the bathroom walls of a lot of airports. And the posters are very, very nice, and they're very informative. I don't know how many human traffickers or bring their victims to see them.
Yeah.
And there's never been a study on that. I'm sure there might be sometime. But they are there. But that's the extent of the publicity. They do train other individuals within the airport environment, stakeholders. To the degree that is effective, we don't know. All those techniques to combat human trafficking were directed for the sole agency that was responsible for airport security. For some unknown reason, they have never been trained. In fact, the only training they do have is about at 57 seconds concerning a van that stops at a rest area on the interstate in a cornfield in Iowa. So it's hard to see the relevancy of that to reality.
It doesn't fit the actual environment at all. What do you see, like what can the average person do? Because human trafficking also has to be brought more attention in the public eye, because things can only die in the court of public opinion lately for high officials to actually do anything. So how I mean, you see Tim Ballard finally get Sound of Freedom out to raise more awareness, and the left and people go after him. When there is such polarization out here in the country right now, how can people really help and feel like they can make a difference in fighting against human trafficking too?
Well, first of all, you have to realize how important it is and how personal it is. Until it is your child that's at stake, you're not going to do anything.
Right.
It's not in my backyard. You're not going to do anything. You got to worry about food on the table, the taxes, the gas, your health care, the pills, medicine. It's not in your backyard. Now, the African American and Black community, they have a problem. It is in their backyard because 40% of the victims are from that community. That's the community that's got a problem. So now, how do we combat it? If you feel that this is sufficiently important and that it will affect you, and it will affect you, because the next demographic to be targeted is white.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The white community they are the second in the number of contributors to child sex trafficking. So between the Black community, and now this is kind of Asian, Hispanic, broken down into several different demographics. But the white community or Caucasian and the Black community contribute the highest number of victims to the child sex trafficking perpetrator. So now, realizing that potential exists and you want to protect your children, what do? Well, you say, well, I don't engage in sex trafficking. I don't read. Well, actually, there are things you can do. What does your child look at? Because you're not going to have child sex trafficking if you can't get the victim.
Right.
The victims come from online. A good portion come from the online social platforms that we as parents don't supervise our children, either on their phone or on the computer. That's where the start of most of this is. Innocent conversations where they entice children into compromising situations, and that leads to becoming a victim. So parental supervision is the number one way to stop this at home. Second, activism. Call any number of your political comms. You have 2 state senators in Florida.
Yep.
You have congressmen, half a dozen congressmen in these districts.
Yes.
They get called.
And I want to point out, Steve Bannon's talked about this, and it finally is live. It's a free app. Everybody can download it. It's called BillBlaster. And you open it up, and literally by state, starting with Alabama, you have the names, phone numbers, and all social media and their own website for every single senator, congressman, and governor of your state, wherever you are in America. And it has their phone number and picture right there that you can call them and get loud locally, folks, and tell them what you want them to actually focus on, what is actually important for America right now. I think that's very important. Everybody should have that app on their phone, BillBlaster.
Now, why should you do this? Well, first of all, you got to realize where child sex trafficking fits in the global scheme of what's going on in America. You have now child sex trafficking, which is very popular in the United States. We're the number one consumer of child sex trafficking, but we're also very high on the drug list. So between drugs and child sex trafficking, the United States is supplying financial incentive to the International Criminal Organization, in which case the cartels. Now, we have cartels throughout Florida. There's 3 main ones that operate out of Tampa, Fort Myers, West Palm Beach, that whole area. Why is that important? Because they have to get their drugs from one place. Fentanyl is the number one drug problem in the United States now. But you don't sell fentanyl. You sell the precursors.
Right.
Precursors go to Mexico, they are refined into fentanyl, and then they are muled over or transported by the mules over to the United States, either through the child sex traffickers or through the drug cartels. So where do the precursors come from? China.
Yeah.
China is the
Right.
number one supplier of precursors to Mexico. Now, why is that important? Because you stop that flow of money to China, we now start a socialization, a change in our socialization process, so that we are no longer importing the things they need the most.
Yeah.
So you have a whole global economy that we can control just by stopping any one part of it. And we don't do it.
Yeah.
You're probably never going to stop drugs. The demand for drugs in the United States has been a problem since we said just say no years ago. And that's never worked. The war on drugs is not a war.
Right. Yeah.
But can we stop? Can we choke off the trade route of child sex trafficking and make them concentrate on something else?
Yeah.
I think we can, but it comes down to closing the southern border. I think if you close off that southern border, you there's their route. I mean, they'll still use sea routes. They'll go back to Piper Cubs, dumping them in the desert again. But it was a heck of a lot harder when our border was closed, when our border was secure.
And that's the whole point. And I use this analogy when I speak. If you want to buy strawberries, okay, and you have the local farmer, okay, you can buy strawberries, but you only make 4 cents on a basket there. You buy the imported strawberries. You say, well, I can buy the imported strawberries at 2 cents a basket. I can make 2 extra cents. But if I want to stop the importer from disrupting my local farmer, I put a tax on the tollway and now charge you 10 cents per basket. So your local farmer sells it for 4 cents. Your out-of-state farmer sells it for 14 cents.
Yeah. Who are you going to go with?
Who are you going to go with?
Oh, yeah.
Same thing with child sex trafficking. And though you hate to reduce this to dollars and cents, but that's how cartels and international organizations look.
That's how they think of it. Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just money.
Yeah.
So if we are able to choke off the ability for the sex trafficker to move that commodity of that child through the airport security checkpoint by putting our agents there, our trained agents, to spot them, it diminishes their ability to use that effectively. It increases the cost of their transportation, and they will go to a more profitable commodity.
Yeah. Don't
Drugs
move on.
or
Because
This is stuff we've known for quite a while, and yet look what our government is doing.
Yes.
The question is, why are they doing it? And now we have politicians, when you say now, every politician in Southwest Florida has been contacted, provided this information. I've spoken with multiple congressmen and senators about this, and no one seems to take an interest. They will mouth the words, but I learned a long time ago that it's not the words you say, but the actions you take that you should be judged on.
Oh, yeah.
So you kind of have to wonder, and we're used to politicians saying a lot of things, and this ranges all the way from the lieutenant governor of the state, who says one of her most important aspects of her platform is child sex trafficking, and she's done A, B, C, D, and E. And then you have the state, the federal senators that say, well, we've done this, all the way back when I was governor or whatever I was. And then we have the congressmen that say, oh, I've done this, and this. They talk a lot.
Yeah.
Ask anyone what they've done.
Yeah.
That's the only question.
Oh, yeah.
So when you say, what can the average person do? You have all that information.
Yeah.
A single phone call, a single email, a single letter. That's letters are now what, 52 cents or whatever they are. One letter.
Right.
And that's it. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
One person can make a difference.
Exactly. And that is the point, to inspire more people to do it. If you have your neighborhood of friends, if everybody does it, eventually they have to pay attention, I think. So
well, and it's not even everybody. Here you have, in this county, you have, I think 9, last I looked, 9 Republican type or conservative type clubs. They have anywhere from 25 to 100 members.
Yep.
If 1% of their membership sent letters, sent emails, or made a phone call, you would be enough.
Exactly. Get loud locally, folks. That's the point. Get loud locally. We're going to take this hard segue. We're going to go through our music segment here. And on the way coming out of that, we'll talk about some bridges that decided to collapse all of a sudden. So, folks, if you're enjoying the show, make sure you hit that like button, comment down below, share it with your friends. That's what it's all about. Get loud locally. If you're watching on YouTube, we're frankly very surprised. So hit that like button, subscribe on YouTube, and then take it over to Rumble. Hit that like button on Rumble, comment down below, hit that subscribe button, and right next to the subscribe button is a little red button that says join. Hit that red button, and then you can join us in our locals community. You can check out some of the bottom of the stack videos that we've been doing, and hopefully that'll grow as well. Just $5 a month, and use promo code FreedomCow to get 1 month free. And you can also get loud locally with the merch. Get yourself a Freedom Cow, Get Loud Locally shirt, and be a conversation starter the way it should be, just like that with Freedom Cow. Who doesn't love Freedom Cow? He's not a sheep. He's a cow. He's a Freedom Cow. Yes, you got to love the Freedom Cow. Use that QR code right there.
Very independent.
Yes, very independent. And use the link down in the description and check out the Freedom Chronicles shop. Enjoy this video I opened for Damon Fowler this past weekend over at the Twisted Fork in Port Charlotte. It was a great time. Haven't seen Damon in quite a while, and it's a lot of fun opening for him. His set sounded great, and I ended up going up with him at the end of his set, played a couple tunes. This was one of the ones we did. A Cream song called Politician.
All right, cool. Mike does a lot of classic rock stuff, a lot of the great stuff he does. He plays a lot of Cream and Eric Clapton and stuff. And this is the only one I know, so we're going to play this one. And given in today's climate for the news, I think this song is very fitting. It goes like this. My big black car. Hey now baby, get into my big black car. I just want to show you what my politics are. I'm a political man. I practice what I preach. support the left, but I'm leaning to the right. I support the left, but I'm leaning to the right.
There you go, a little politician, little long one, but it was some fun guitar dueling there.
Good one.
So
yeah,
it was
good seeing Damon.
Yeah, it was great to see Damon again. He's got 3 kids now, so he's been a little busy.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's not a traditional
Ken,
blues man.
What's that?
That's not a traditional blues man.
I know, right? Very true.
Well,
so Ken, I kind of want you to start us off here. Yeah, you were in the Navy. You know how these ships operate. We have, of course, the news that happened, and I have a couple pictures here. We'll share the pictures first. Picture number 1, please. Build back better in a nutshell. You know, trains are crashing, planes are falling apart, and bridges are collapsing. And picture number 2, we have this breaking news. Who was driving the ship? Right there, you know. ready to go. And let's see. Pete Buttigieg was seen, checking out the scene. What else we got? We got another one. But picture number 12 here. I also want to point out just how much the Port of Baltimore is important, where the bridge got taken out there, all the different areas that ships are going to.
Yeah, but that should only, I mean, again, it wasn't a lot of cement. It was mainly all metal, and I mean, if they really want to get that out of there, they can have that debris removed within a couple of weeks. They got to get torches and, cranes and stuff, but that's a lot easier to get rid of than all that. The thing is, that bridge was built that's one of the main thoroughfares for hazardous waste, and that bridge was made to make it easier to transport hazardous waste, and that bridge is gone,
so they don't go through the tunnels. So
so they can't go through the tunnels now.
Right. So my observation and my opinion of just looking at it, and David has his thoughts as well, is okay, maybe it was an accident, which I'm sure it's leaning towards that. However, looking at what's happened and zooming out, when a bridge like that gets hit, because it is going to shut down the port for a few weeks, it's going to cause that economic problem of, it's going to take logistics for people to figure out a way around it, where the ship's going to go. Yes, there are more ports on the eastern seaboard, as Dave and I were talking about before the show.
Yeah, but every ship that's in there right now is stuck until they get that removed
for a while. And the trucks that use that bridge are going to have to take a longer way around. It's going to take longer for things to get places, which means costs are going to go up on whatever.
You mean like what Larry Fink said?
Right. So, David, what are your thoughts on?
Well, you've got a couple of events. You have to look at it in a larger perspective. What impact does this have? Well, as you correctly identified, it's going to be an economic impact. Trucks are going to have to go different routes. Materials that are on the ships aren't going to be moved. There's going to be a breakdown. But what does it do to the psyche of the American people?
Right.
Okay. What do we have here? We have an unexplained event that occurred that's not supposed to happen. Now, whether it's intentional or unintentional or an act of God, it was not planned for. And there's going to be the subsequent intervening effects and the unintended consequences on the population. That is catastrophic in one aspect. It potentially is a precursor to the development of chaos.
Right.
Have we seen this before?
Yes.
Anybody remember COVID?
Well, yeah, COVID.
And when did that occur?
Yeah, election year. In March of an election year.
Now,
wait.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Right.
What we do when we look at events, they occur intentionally, they can occur accidentally, or they can be acts of God.
Right.
So when you look at something, it's the probability of it occurring that we can't explain. Does it tie? Now, if this is the only event that occurs between now and November, and
that would be the amazing thing. That would be the amazing thing if this was the only event that occurred between now and November.
Well, but if it's not, is it a black swan event?
Right.
Okay. Now, a black swan
I don't think this is, but it could be a precursor. I mean, there's too many unanswered questions, and it's too many. There's nobody's asking these questions. Like they're all of a sudden going to accident before anybody's actually do we know, is this a fly-by-wire ship? Is this a ship that can be manipulated via satellite? If so, it's hackable, and then the lends credibility to the theory that this was a strategically planned event to take out certain infrastructure. So until those questions are answered,
I don't think you have to be that complicated. That company that owns the ship in August of 2023 took out almost a $7 million loan to install new gas admission technology
right
on that ship. Brand new.
Yeah, and it
Right.
was revealed that the ship had struck.
Yeah,
Was
backed
involved in
into a
2016
pier.
crash.
Backed into a
Yeah,
pier a couple of years ago.
right, in 2016, and as recent as last year came back showing deficiencies, quote unquote. So, and also you have to look at the worldwide things of what are happening. I mean, when you see Victoria Nuland go away and says, "Oh, something's going to happen in Russia. You better watch out." And these leaks are happening where they're saying, "Look at, beware of concerts. There's going to be terrorist attacks in Russia." What do we see the next week or 2 weeks later? We see a terrorist attack in Russia. Now, you can't say, because it's all hypothetical, of whether or not this is a retaliatory, terrorist attack. But for me, for the government and anybody to come out and immediately say, "Oh, it's an accident. Oh, it's an accident." They don't have to say anything. Let them say we're having an investigation into
They don't
what's
know.
happening.
They have no
Find out. They
idea.
don't know. So why do they have to come out and say it's one thing or another? They could have come out and say, "Yes, we immediately believed it was terrorism." And somebody had a good point, because Alex Jones came out and tweeted, this was definitely a black swan event type of thing, and somebody
He did
on
that.
the
Laura
left,
Logan was on board with that theory.
right,
Steve
and
Bannon is on board
and
with
of
that
course the
theory.
left, yeah, and of course the left comes out and says, "Oh, that's a fake tweet." Well, and somebody pointed out, what if it was reversed? What if Alex Jones came out and said, "This is definitely an accident"? Would the left come out and say, "Oh, no, that's a fake tweet. This was a terrorist attack"? I think people just
That's what he
have to
should have
do
said,
the investigation. That's what it should
just
have
to
said.
get them to say it.
Right. There has
Yeah,
to be that initial investigation.
nobody knows yet.
That's
Nobody
true.
knows yet, but regardless, we still have to deal with the ramifications, and the ramifications are going to be harsh. And
Yes.
I mean, harsh for the
So,
people
and then-
around there. Harsh for us out here, down here in Florida. We're not going to feel it that much, other than the cost in goods are going to be going. We're already seeing inflation, so you can just mix in more inflation with that.
You're going to see propane go up, and all of these hazardous materials go up in price.
Rush to judgment is great for political headlines and advertisers because it gets the point across. It's the clickbait. But in my field, you really want to assemble the facts. You don't come up with any conclusions. Your conclusions are based on where the facts lead you.
Yeah.
Although we may have certain guesses that we want to eliminate, that's all it is a guess. It says, is it possible? There's a problem. But we find,
because there's all kinds of
where the
all
conclusions
kinds of
lie.
plausible theories here.
There
All kinds
are.
of
And that's
plausible
all you have
theories.
to
It could have
track
been
down.
it could have been crappy maintenance, and they actually
Yeah.
did lose power. And when you're traveling at 7.6 knots with, what is it, 110,000 ton ship with cargo.
They were half.
I mean,
we looked
that-
at the number of TEUs on the container ship. It was only half. It's a 10,000 TEU unit capability. Only had almost 5,000 on it, so it was only
okay,
half.
so it
loaded.
wasn't fully loaded. But it
Was not
but
fully
it sure did look fully loaded, didn't it?
No.
It's amazing
Well-
how much they can fit on those things.
So, and a good point is, why doesn't a bridge like that, when big ships are going in like that, why don't, and this is an infrastructure question, why don't bridges like that have
Again,
better barriers?
Because again, inertia. There's it would have
Yeah.
gone through the barriers.
Yeah, I agree.
That big, that much weight traveling. Sure, it's only 7.6 knots, but that's in water. It's going forward. You're not going to stop its forward
Objects in
motion very
motion.
easily. Yeah.
Yeah,
Law of tonnage in effect.
Yeah.
And well, it's funny you bring that up because an engineer that was involved in the proposal, the plans to building that bridge, brought that exact question up: is should we have something called a diverter implemented to prevent collisions with pylons or the
So they
support
didn't even
structure?
have like what we have on the Skyway. They didn't have any of those barriers out in front of it. It was just the stanchion hanging there by
It
itself.
looked like it was just the pillar. Yeah.
It's a cost benefit
yeah.
analysis,
Yeah.
and that's what it
exactly.
was. That's what the engineers
Wow.
feedback was.
That's what I
Yes.
thought every bridge would have those now, particularly in a high traffic area. I know we do in Tampa because we saw what happened when you don't.
Wait, didn't you lose a bridge in
We
Tampa?
learned our
Yeah.
lesson.
Well, that's how
Exactly.
you learn the lessons.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that's what it takes.
Well, and don't forget, we have this breaking news. Picture number 13, please. The Francis Scott Key Bridge did tweet out, "I do have information that could lead to the arrest and imprisonment of Hillary Clinton." So the bridge committed suicide. Anyway, that will bring us to our Patriot and Traitor of the Week. David, who's your Patriot of the Week?
I would say General Michael Flynn.
Oh, yes.
He has done the
Oh, yeah,
most
without question.
for our country. He is probably the most feared patriot by those on the other side of the aisle for not only his knowledge, but his ability to strategize and understand the far-reaching implications of acts that are occurring today, and then put forth ideas and policies that he can suggest to, which he did to the president, on how to avoid them and what's best for the American people in the strategic view from his background. And I think he's probably the patriot that is the least acknowledged, but probably the most important as we go forward.
Yeah, and I agree.
I
And
would
I
agree
think
with
he
that.
is a very big proponent of understanding how the local communities get involved. We've had his sister, Mary Flynn O'Neill, on the show. We've had his brother, Joseph Flynn, on the show. We're trying to get the general. We're working on it. We have our top people.
He's a busy guy. Got to
He's a
get through the
busy guy.
gatekeeper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
She's formidable. This is formidable.
and so, but it is people like him getting all the average people, folks, you watching this show, getting involved and figuring out a way. And his book, Fifth Generation Warfare?
Fifth Generation
Fifth
Warfare.
Generation Warfare is really what we're in. And times have changed, and you have to adapt with the time. You know, the art of war doesn't change, but how they're implementing some of these strategies and understanding the culture and social media and how they use that against normal people is very important. And I think General Flynn's doing a great job.
And he is.
That. Yeah. Ken, who is your Patriot of the Week?
Well, I think we have to hearken back to the original patriot, George Washington, who on this date in 1794 authorized the creation of the United States Navy.
Hey, in the Navy.
Salute.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. I'm going to give
Gave him
mine
10 years of my
to-
life.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to give mine to Scott Pressler. Picture number 17, please. Scott Pressler just met with Laura Trump over there at the RNC. And Scott is one of these stories. And he tweeted out, "Oh, my goodness, it was so nice to meet you, Laura Trump. Thank you for taking the time to listen. It means the world to be heard. Let's all come together as a family and save the country we love." And Scott is the perfect example of a guy getting loud locally in his community, started by just picking up trash in Baltimore, of all places, and getting hundreds and then thousands of people out there to help clean up these horrible neighborhoods, and then working his way, get people registered to vote, flip some of these counties red to help get these corrupt Democrats out of there. Now he understands part of the problem is inside the Republican Party, too. And he tried and tried and tried to talk to Mitt Romney McDaniel and got nowhere. Well, now, just to show you, she's out. Laura Trump's in. And that means Scott Pressler is in to help get the real fight going and get loud locally for local people getting involved and helping with this election, because it's the most important. David, who is your traitor of the week?
Well, there's so many that could fill that bill that sit in the houses of Congress and the Senate.
That's for sure.
So you have to look in my line of work, traitor has a very specific definition.
Yes.
And though I disagree with many of the things, I can't call the head of the Department of Homeland Security a traitor. In his early career, he was successful in prosecuting some of the largest money laundering cases in the United States at that time. In addition, he successfully prosecuted Heidi Fleiss. Why is Heidi Fleiss important? Because Heidi Fleiss's Black Book still contains the names of some sitting members of the Senate. So you have to understand how this works together. But I do have some disagreements with Secretary Mayorkas, and it specifically concerns the diversion of funds to the Department of Homeland Security's Center to Combat Human Trafficking away from the other federal agency that was by statute required to combat human trafficking more effectively. So because of that, and his impact on allowing child sex trafficking to continue rather than go unabated, I find that he is not the person I agree with the most.
Yes, very good. I agree. You know, the biggest problems we're facing right now is the open border.
He implemented DACA.
Oh,
Were
yeah,
you aware of
you
that?
mentioned that.
And he also was the first head of the Immigration Services for Homeland Security.
Mm-hmm.
His entire background since assuming government service, other than as a U.S. attorney, has been to promote immigration of illegals through any number of forms.
Yeah.
Okay. That is his ideology. Now, to the degree it
Yeah.
affects his ability to perform his role as Homeland Security Director, that's for history to judge. But we can show that the diversion of funds to a publicity campaign directly affects the combating of child sex trafficking through airports.
And I mean, it's your oath of office to uphold the Constitution of America and protect America from all threats, foreign and domestic. And when you have an open border, that's not allowing your country to have its sovereignty, and that's an issue.
And that is an issue. And more than that, he was investigated for showing favoritism to foreign investors and granting them visas. And although it was concluded he did nothing violate the law, they did show
of course
favoritism on his part to foreign investors.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem.
Yes,
it is.
He's derelict in his duty. Yes.
So, and rather than waste time on these impeachment articles that are going nowhere, with the politicians, you have to ask yourself, why are the politicians focusing so much time and energy on impeachment articles that are going nowhere?
To distract us.
Any second-year law student knows these are completely defensible. Find something such as the diversion of $90 million away from a federal agency to his own publicity campaign
that actually needs
that
the
will
money.
Stick.
Right.
It's clear. That's black and white. It's right there. All you do is you pick it up, say, here's A, here's B, this is C.
Right.
End of story. Very simple.
It's because the crowd.
It's getting those people to do it, though.
Yeah, it's crowd control because the Congress wants to just say, well, let's just do the impeachment thing. It kicks the can down the road. We know nothing will get done, and we don't have to actually do our job.
That's right.
When
makes us look good.
It makes us look good because, see, we're doing something, but we just don't have the votes. Vote for us next time, and we'll get them next time.
Well, why don't
that don't work anymore?
Why don't people in Congress want to do this? Well, is it possible that there may be influences? Do we have any members in the executive branch or the legislative branch that have been potentially corrupted by outside influence? Wasn't there a U.S. senator indicted? Senator Menendez?
Oh yeah.
And don't they have?
That really, again, the Menendez thing really makes me wonder because look, they're all corrupt. What did he do to piss them off to where they say we got to get rid of Menendez? How is he worse than them? I mean, really.
Well,
so you got to wonder, if he was a Republican, I get it. Well, but a fellow Democrat, you got to wonder what he did to make them want to kick him out of the club.
Yeah.
There were allegations of corruption and foreign influence up and down, both the congressional side and the Senate side. And you have to wonder at what point is that impact or that influence so great that they turn a blind eye to children being sex trafficked?
Because it's money, like you said. It always comes down to money. And it's like baseball. You know, you don't point out that the other team is cheating with signals because you're doing the same exact thing. You know, it's
money, power, extortion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're compromised in any way, they hold that against you. You know.
Well, who donates to the political campaigns of these individuals? You have there's a primary candidate against one of the U.S. senators here in Florida. He was given this. We had a conversation with him. You would expect a primary candidate to raise that issue.
Of course.
Never said a word.
No.
Complete crickets.
Yeah.
A perfect political question by a primary opponent.
Yeah.
Never mentions it.
Exactly. Ken, who is your trader of the week?
Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock. That disgusting corporate fascist is so embedded in the White House right now. It's disgusting. And what he said today that, now he's trying to run cover for the Biden regime by saying, inflation is going to go up dramatically, but it's a good thing.
It's a good thing, believe
The
us.
guy is between but his brother. I mean, just the way that he is enmeshed in White House, and he's essentially dictating policy to the White House, who then follows through. It's disgusting. He's a traitor.
Yeah.
Definitely. He's anti-American. He's anti-freedom. He's all about power and money, though. He's a disgusting human being.
Yeah, I think BlackRock gets the free space on the bingo card, right? For Trader of the Week. That's always
Yes.
the given.
That's always that's always the go-to. Always a go-to.
Yes. I could go two ways with this one, because it's interesting how people want to say RFK is doing his thing, and then he picks who he picks as his VP pick, who has ties to Soros. And,
well, yeah, it's fine by me. It doesn't hurt Trump.
It's fine by me.
They were all saying, remember how they were all saying in the beginning, wow, RFK, this is going to hurt Trump. Only for one issue voters, it's going to hurt Trump. Yeah. And this will hurt Biden. It's not going to hurt Trump.
Yep. Nicole Shanahan is RFK.
No political experience. Yep. And who is she? Another divorcee who got a boatload of money from her husband, and now she's doing like Bezos, and she's ex-wife.
Right. She's a Silicon Valley lawyer and investor, and has ties to Soros. So she's a six-figure donor to George Gascon, the pro-crime Soros-backed prosecutor who helped wreck.
She's a total hardcore lefty. Like I said, this doesn't hurt Biden at all, or this doesn't hurt Trump at all. This hurts Biden.
Right.
So look at the bigger picture.
So watch for them to go after RFK now.
Yeah.
But why would you want that particular individual with no political experience in that position? He's a fledgling third-party candidate that is struggling to gain prominence. For what purpose? To defeat the current administration.
Oh, right. Yeah. It'll pull votes.
Yes. And this will work. I mean, it'll work in his favor. I think he's going to gain left-leaning independents, and he's definitely going to gain a lot of Democrat votes. So this hurts Biden more, which means, and now they already didn't give him any Secret Service protection. So, which again is pretty appalling when you think about it. But I think you're going to see the administration start going after anything he does now.
Of course.
Yes.
And that's only bad publicity is still publicity.
Exactly.
And no matter what they do, it's going to draw attention.
And again, we see what the DOJ going after Trump is doing. It raises his poll numbers. DOJ is going to start going after RFK. It's going to raise RFK's poll numbers.
That's
right. Exactly.
All to the detriment of the Biden voter.
Oh,
so it's going to swing that vote.
And speaking of Trump and his money, let's see. Currently at 12:06, recording on Wednesday, DJT is at $68.85. Now, of course,
okay. Can I bring it back down to earth? Can I bring you back down to earth here a little bit?
Yes, bring it back down to earth.
Truth Social is going to have to start producing some revenue here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Their stock price right now is not indicative of the performance of that company. It's all hype right now, and it's all PR, and it's really good. But
But my point is, and what other people are also saying, is you're not buying into Truth Social. You're buying into Trump himself. People who, like Trump, have hopped on that bandwagon. And full disclosure, I invested a little bit in it myself. I am not telling anybody.
If you don't mind your stock tanking, as long as it helps DJT, you're okay with that.
And
as long as you're okay with that, that's fine.
Right. It's a gamble, no matter what.
And people should, there's a good chance you're pissing this money away.
Right. And people should contact their financial advisors and not take any financial advice from me.
Markowski wasn't too up on it earlier this morning in his segment.
But my point is, as of right now, Trump does well, this stock is going to do well because people believe in Trump and they are going to believe in this stock, just like they bought his NFTs. They bought the gold Trump sneakers. They are happy. I got the bottle right there. I can show you of my Trump
Have
water.
you bought his
from
59?
the
Well, hey, come on! If you're all in, get online and buy his $59 Bible.
That's right. I'm waiting for the gold Trump Bible.
There you go.
Perfect
Hurry
time,
up.
just in time for Easter. So, but it's that idea that people support him, and this is his way to raise money. And we'll see what happens with the stock. But I think as long as Trump does well, and God willing, nothing bad happens to him, that stock will continue to do fine.
If the stock price makes Truth Social popular enough to where it can start attracting more advertisers, then
yes.
I think it'll do good. And hopefully it will. I wish him all the best. I hope it does. And I'm glad that this boosted him up because he needs the money.
Yes, I agree. Two other little things. One, Ronna McRomney already fired from NBC there, and we have this.
If that whole debacle doesn't show you how journalism is dead, I don't know what does.
Well, and I love this from Trump. Wow, Ronna McDaniel got fired by fake news NBC. She only lasted 2 days. And this after McDaniel went out of her way to say what they wanted to hear. It leaves her in a very strange place called Neverland. And it's not a place you want to be.
No.
These radical left lunatics are crazy. And the top people at NBC are weak. They are broken and embarrassed by low ratings, highly overpaid talent, quote unquote. Bring back free and fair press and make America great again 2024. And the best part was, I love what I think it was the president of NBC said. They want the same thought in a cohesive work environment is what works best. You would think in a
they want a
newsroom,
hive mentality. Yeah, that's again. They want a hive mind. They're not journalists.
Deal with facts. You want people who deal with facts.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But on the upside, she was under contract and she was let go after 3 days. That was the most expensive 3 days NBC's probably paid out in a long time. And like her or not, and I don't, but she walked away from NBC with a nice little check.
Yeah, David?
No, it's in a volatile market when you're dealing with stocks like this. And in full disclosure, my wife has invested in this. I don't do any stock investing. But she understands that you're buying into an idea.
Yeah.
Whether it's Bitcoin or any of the virtual NFTs or the Solaris and some of these others,
right?
You're not buying actuality or reality. You're buying an image, an idea, a belief, and that's all this is. The belief is that President Trump will be reelected. If that occurs, then the volatility and the investment and the chance you take will pay off.
Yeah.
If for some reason that doesn't occur, the chance won't pay off.
Yeah.
But you're willing to take the chance. You know why? It's your money.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do what you wish at this point. And as long as we have a free and fair society that's not ruled by some digital currency manipulator, we can spend our money how we wish to spend it.
And that's the point of the market.
That's a good point.
It's the circle. It's the circle. People control the market. And if any of these financial firms are going to try to short this stock, then again, the people are going to come out and say no, and they'll just buy it and it'll go up again. So I think it's going to be very interesting.
He made a good point. It's not we're not under the digital currency yet. Once we go under digital currency, are they going to let you invest in Truth Social?
Right, exactly. Or X, or anything Elon Musk has to do with, or anything anybody.
Something else that I don't think enough people understand the what the ramifications of flipping to digital currency are.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm idealistic enough to where I won't go to a place that won't give me the option to pay cash. Like Sunseeker, they'll never see me. The car wash next to DQ on 41, they'll never see me again. Last week, I went up there and said, we're not taking cash anymore. And I go, well, this is my last time here. I'm not going to do it. And people got to talk about it. They have to talk about it more because they don't seem to understand the problem that your yard sale. What are you going to do there? You're going to be paying income tax on what you made on the yard sale. I mean,
I know, maybe 25 cents.
Yeah. Or we see, or just too many issues with it. And again, it all points to DJT needs to win. in November, because if he doesn't win in November, it's only going to get worse real quick, and we're not going to have, we already pretty much don't have a country right now.
We're already past. Everybody says, well, it's going to be, we're past the turning point.
Yeah.
We are. We will no longer cease to exist as a constitutional republic, in my opinion, based upon the way the country is headed right now.
Right now.
And I think there's a majority of, there are other individuals that believe that same way. In our society, we have the operators, which are the behind the scenes. And that's, my entire life has been operations. I'm not a politician. I cannot speak out of both sides of my mouth. I tell you what the facts are. I assemble them, present them. Then I leave it up to a judge, a jury, of the public to make their independent decision as to where those facts lead them. And that's the best that anyone in my position can do. You know, do I have my personal opinions? Yes. I give them to my wife. She tells me I'm wrong. And that's the end of it. My wife is very astute. She's very astute on this. She's on top of all these issues. And we have these lively discussions. I have a good friend, Mary Madeline. And when she was running the campaign for George W. Bush Sr., she came to me one day.
You're friends with Mary Madeline?
Yeah, I went to law school with her. We're close friends.
Wow, cool.
And she said,
she's got the weirdest marriage I've ever seen.
Well, she came to me about this and said, I met this guy. He's a great guy. I said, well, who is it? She says, Jimmy Carville. I go, not. She says, yeah, that's Jimmy Carville. I said, stop right there. She says, I really like the guy. And I said, he's a great guy. We don't see eye to eye on anything. I said, just keep it out of the house. When you walk in the front door, never discuss politics. And to this day, she said, once they walk in the front door, they have never discussed politics. She has a great marriage.
And their marriages work. They've been together for what, 40 years?
Yeah, he is an exceptionally brilliant man. And you have to understand that regardless of your political ideology, that doesn't change your ability to think. And it's their way these individuals think that is so amazing, that makes them an amazing person. Yeah. And that's what's important. Not that he believes in left or right, and I believe in right or left or blue or green or whatever it is. It's how you put the facts together and how you draw those conclusions. That's what's important. And that's what people have gotten away from. Now they look at the personalities, they take it personally. They don't understand that it's not a personal attack. It's an attack on the facts. These are the facts. These are how I support them. Not that I like blue or I like green. We all have our personal likes. These are facts. Facts don't change. Present the facts, let people decide, and allow them the opportunity to hold their own opinions, right or wrong. But it's only your decision whether it's right or wrong. They believe they're right. I believe I'm right. That's how it is. That's the freedom of a constitutional republic.
Right.
We can do that as long as we're still allowed to.
And that's, of course,
for now,
what they don't want. Yep, I agree. Ken, any final thoughts?
No, I'm still marveling that he knows Mary Madeline.
Nice. There you go. Well, folks, thank you for watching. Greatly appreciate it. David, thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for the invitation.
You're welcome anytime. And folks, again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, share this show with your friends, because that is how we get loud locally. And from the bunker, good night, everybody.
Freedom in its hour of maximum danger.
Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution.
Hi, good night, everybody.
Government is the problem.